around in the government, how I was feeling, what I thought I needed to do, but also being the president of this large professional society that was focused on science and had a whole lot of thousands of other people and a whole lot of services and programs that needed to continue in the face of an attack. So trying to figure out how to balance all of that was right in the forefront of my mind. And there are three things that helped me, and there are three words, and they're going to sound cliche, but even though they sound cliche, until you're faced with it in your own individual situation, the cliches go out the window because it becomes real, right? So the first thing that helped me, and I wanted to share with you, was just courage, just period. Like courage to even have the conversations with myself about leaving federal service early, because I wasn't of age, the traditional age, until the early retirement option came. So mustering that kind of courage internally, but then also figuring out what does that mean where I go next. So yes, the decision to leave, but then the decision to go somewhere else. And so I thought there wasn't going to be sound, but that's cool, there is. And I don't know how to turn that off, so I'm going to go to the next thing. But the point, and by the way, I'm an ecologist, ostriches don't put their heads in the sand, but that's a myth. But I had to figure out how to not be just stymied and frozen by what was going on and say, okay, now wait a minute, let's define the landscape now. Part of figuring out what to do is to recognize the reality of it, call it out, name it, define it, and then you can move forward with that. Because if you don't step back, at least for me, and figure out how to frame all the mess that's going on, then you'll just be in the mess. But once you frame it out, then it's like, okay, now I know what to do, where to move. And internally, it looked like there was just a lot of debris and rubble with programs and initiatives and efforts, and they were firing colleagues, and then people came back, and then Doge was in the building, and we couldn't, they hacked OPM, and was I gonna get paid? They're changing my SF50s, saying that I don't have 20 years, they're saying I had 19 years, because then they can retro fire me, because they changed my, that was going on. So it looked like, an apocalyptic movie, but again, as an ecologist, I knew that poop and manure are the same thing. It just depends on the context that it's in. So either you're just gonna let it be, it's family friendly, I'm chugging. You're either gonna let it be poop, or you're gonna figure out how to build substrate from it. And substrate is that base layer of whatever it is, where things can grow from, thrive, scale, etc., like we see the moss here on the substrate. The more I thought about it, and the more I realized what I did over the last 20 years or so in the federal government, the substrate is always people, right? We can't lose sight that it's the idea or the initiative or the program or the lesson plan or the after-school activity. It's always the students, it's always the parents, it's always your colleagues, it's about the people. And what we need to do, at least from my perspective, is to make sure that once we find that individual courage, that we start to intentionally connect with one another. So that's the second point, connection or connectivity. And to be intentional about it, not the surface level, I follow somebody on social media, and I like their comment or their content, but to nurture the relationships and the connections that we have, to maybe rekindle ones that have become a little latent, but also to think about where can I make new connections into new places with new people that I never thought of before, right? So expanding that, and for me, science has always been that place where I could find that kind of connection with people. So whether it's at a meeting, there's more sound, I'll let this play, and then I'll go. So this is a clip from AGU's annual meeting, which was in New Orleans this past December.
science connects us.
Where science connects us.
So we had over, Josh, how many did we have?
21,000?
21,000 at that meeting in New Orleans. The year before AGU 24 was in Washington, D.C., we had over 30,000. So it averages around 25,000 Earth and space scientists coming from all over the world. The point of the video was that place in that space to make connections, to find new colleagues, new collaborators, new ideas, just like coming to South by, seeing people that you haven't seen since last year, or you were connected, through whatever media or medium over the course of the year. But that in-person thing is powerful, especially we know that coming out of COVID, right? So even though, and this was one of the last programs I worked on at the National Science Foundation, which focused on inclusion within the Earth and space science community. Even though the program, as you see over there, archived, millions of dollars had gone out to institutions and organizations, et cetera, and then it got clawed back and the program just got shut down. But the community didn't stop, right? So that is that reminder to me that it's always about the people when we're talking about substrate, okay? And then the third piece of that, from figuring out where to get the courage from, how to muster the courage, how to make the connections and rekindle those that may have been latent or find new ones, is that we need to reimagine everything. And we have the opportunity now to reimagine everything. It doesn't matter if it's in education, if it's in economics, if it's in science, where in the arts, wherever. This is a title of an article from Medium, I believe. The power to create whole new worlds. We have that, and we can do it collectively, but we need to use our imaginations differently. So I've heard a lot of people say in my circles, oh, we need to rebuild. And for me, when I hear rebuild, that puts me on my heels. That causes me subconsciously, this is just me, it may be all right for others, to pause or to wait for the destruction to complete itself, then you come back. And we don't have the luxury to wait until the destruction is finished. We need to, in my opinion, build now, build new, build in parallel, build while things are going along, and maybe build in innovative ways that siphon off the energy from the messiness that's going on. But that's going to take collective thought, that's going to take courage, that's going to take all of us. As an ecologist, I told my students, even when I taught high school, organisms only have three options. When the environment changes, you either adapt to the environment. If you have the ability to migrate, you can. You fly away or swim away, walk away, everything can't do that. But if you don't want to do one of those two options, extinction is the only other option. And I don't like that option. And I don't have billions of dollars to build my own spaceship. No distant folks that do that and want to get off the planet, but I'm not in those circles. So I'm left with figuring out how to adapt, and I believe I'm left with millions and millions of others, if not billions, and how to do that. So winding down, and many of you who are educators know about the flipped classroom approach and the pedagogical pieces that fit into that. And those were some of the most exciting times for me when I taught high school, because I wasn't an education major, I was a science major coming into high school. So I wasn't coming in with the traditional, let's do this in the science classroom. We were outside digging up worms and all that kind of stuff. And giving the students agency and autonomy. And I really believe this is a concept that can be applied in a lot of places now, because everything's been flipped. We didn't ask for it to be flipped, but since it's flipped, let's figure out how we can be courageous through connection and be creative in this flipped environment that we're sitting in right now, so we can build the world that we need and the world that we want as we're moving forward. And so those three pieces are kind of the principles that I've been sitting with for the last, I would say, 8 or 9 months that helped me navigate, yes, coming out of the federal government, but then moving into, I'm doing a little bit of consulting now. I still have my work with the American Geophysical Union, but being comfortable in that the ecosystem's bigger than where I thought I just had to be. I could go elsewhere and still fight with no fear. So thank you all.